Hello, my name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those who are watching live or those who are listening on our podcast, thank you so much for joining us today. In today's show, we're talking about where is technology going? Where is it headed? As you know, technology is becoming more and more advanced every single day, and it has a bright future. But what implications does it have when it comes to your business insurance and how it affects your company? With me today, we're going to have Rick Calloway with AccuShare Business Insurance with me to talk about this and tell us a little bit further as to what his perspective is when it comes to business insurance. How you doing, Rick?
Doing just wonderful. Looking forward to a great show and a lot of talk about technology. It's cause and effect.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Cause and effect. I love that statement because there is a lot of cause and effect. We are all interested in the cause. The cause is convenient. It helps us grow our business. It helps us communicate a lot quicker and more efficiently. And like I was mentioning earlier, it's becoming more and more advanced. Now, but the effect is there's exposure. And I think that's the biggest key in our show today is talking about some of the future exposure that we're going to come into. Have you seen a major difference thus far, Rick?
Yeah, there's all kinds of new risks being added to the insurance world with the advent of cyber issues, the advent of AI doing things and not doing things, expectations that people have that their technology is going to solve, and not realizing that you may have solved one problem, but you may have created another one.
That's right. That's right. So let's go ahead and get into that. And speaking of AI, I was able to pull out an article and 25 technology trends. You can look this up via the internet. Obviously, there's a gentleman there on LinkedIn who is the author of it. To make sure that you connect with him. It's a great article, but it has a lot to do with our conversation today. And some of the key points that he brought up was artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning. The increased ability of machines to learn and act intelligently will absolutely transform our world. It is also the driving force behind many of the other trends on this list that we're about to expose you to. So, Rick, with AI, just starting out, because I feel like AI has come on the scene over the last maybe 5-6 years. I don't know really the time frame, but AI is really taking root in a lot of businesses. Are you seeing how is insurance moving towards AI?
Well, in the insurance industry, they're using a lot of AI for underwriting purposes, analyzing risk trends, et cetera, so they can price things properly. And a lot of companies are using AI to perform functions such as accounting, matching up checks with bills and all that kind of stuff. So the human still has to go in and double check all that stuff, but AI relieves the constant input and clicking and poking and all that kind of stuff. The AI is just adding to ease of doing things, and in my industry, unfortunately, it's causing to be a pain in the neck sometimes, because what I see looking at a building is totally different than what AI sees. So getting it underwritten properly is a problem.
And from what I learned from you, your insurance companies are starting to use AI in the underwriting portion of the business, right? In determining insurance.
Using it in the underwriting portion, and they're also using it in the claims portion, helping resolve claims faster, see which claims have a potential to go into lawsuits, and all those types of things. So they're making use of the vast amount of data that they already had. They just couldn't deal with it before because, we can't move as fast as a computer does.
That's right. All right, so let's talk about this one. I know this is another trend in which everybody is talking about: intelligent spaces and smart places. Closely linked to the IoT, this trend is seeing physical spaces like homes, offices, and even whole cities becoming increasingly connected and smart. Now, just to create context around that smartness, what comes to my mind here, Rick, is just kind of, for example, when we have Ring, obviously everybody knows Ring, very well branded security system. We have their refrigerator. We have a lot of things that are governed by technology at this stage that you can access that way. Now, this happens in our businesses, and also cities are depending a lot on technology to operate. Is this obviously it's going to, whether it's a good move or not, is happening, but what type of risk and what are we seeing in this move, in this development, Rick?
Well, as you know, everything is connected nowadays. One of the first applications of this stuff was heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems. So I could control 10 buildings from one location. That was the first instance where there was arguments between property insurers and cyber liability insurers. A gentleman hacked into a HVAC control, cranked it up till it burned the building down, and property guys said, hey, that's not the fire is a coverable loss, but the cause of that fire does not fall under the insurance policy. The cyber guy said, we insure cyber hack, but we don't insure property damage. So that was the advent of figuring out who was responsible for what. So that's one of the intricacies of everything being connected. Odd things are going to happen, and the insurance industry had to react to that and figure out how to help it before they also ended up in a huge lawsuit with everybody pointing fingers. Hey, it's your problem, it's my problem. But
That's
they
right.
resolved it. Now we have the cyber liability to take care of all those connection issues that can cause us all problems.
And that brings up a good point, Rick. You just said the pointing at fingers. So technology is moving a certain way, but when things happen, then that's all that's left is pointing at fingers. And so that's even part of that exposure in that business relationship that you're developing with that company. Is that
technology is moving so fast, neither the insurance company, the business, a guy says, hey, I got a new program to make widgets, and he starts running this program, and then there's a problem. The insurance industry hasn't been able to do, because they base their policies on analytics. They look at what's the trend of this, what's that. If they have no history on it, it's very difficult for them to price anything and cover things.
That's for sure. All right, let's bring this up. That's a very good point. Thank you for that. So we're talking about drones on this one, and I know some companies are moving towards drones to help operate their business, but let's see what the article is saying. Drones and unmanned aerial vehicles. These aircraft, which are piloted either remotely or autonomously, have changed the face of military operations, but the impact doesn't stop there. Search and rescue missions, firefighting, law enforcement, and transportation will all be transformed by drone technology. Get ready for passenger drones, drone taxis too. This is, for me, Rick, when I think about this particular article, it brings me to, that commercial on Domino's. They have that, the car that is driving by itself is delivering to you. And at some point, we all thought this was far-fetched, but really, this article is really pointing to those type of new age vehicles in which we're going to be seeing all over the place. So how does that show up in a business insurance and business operations perspective?
Well, it's pretty interesting. If the vehicle is driving all by itself and there's nobody in it, who's responsible if there's an accident? The manufacturer of the vehicle, the guy that started it up? I don't know. The drone technology that I'm most familiar with and have seen and have insured is the drone technology where they're flying their smaller drones over a building or a property. I've got a lot of property managers that use it to inspect roofs. So it's saving them time. They didn't used to have to climb up on top of the roof. And I've got another client that is selling drones to people that wash solar panels. They used to get up there with their brooms and mops and wash off the solar panels. Now the little drone flies up there and washes them off. I'm not quite ready for a drone taxi. I'm not really comfortable with a robot sitting in the front seat driving me around. But the law enforcement and fire are able to use them with cameras to, especially fire things to spot where, pockets of fire are starting up so they can get people over there. I assume in the cities, the police are able to use them for chasing people down alleys and stuff where they can't get cars or they can't get anything else. And the big airplane style drones, I'm assuming those are mostly military applications. I don't see anybody flying a passenger airliner with 100 people on it by a drone. At least I hope not. I believe in technology, but there's certain things that make me a little nervous.
That's fair. Let's go ahead and bring up this other portion of the article. This one was interesting, and this was right up your alley as well. As part of the 25 technology trends, one of the trends that they're speaking of is cybersecurity and resilience. As business face new unprecedented new threats, the ability to avoid and mitigate cybersecurity threats will be critical to success over the next decade. So when you think about that, Rick, it's going to be extremely hard with the advancement with this cybersecurity, because my thoughts in regards to this is, when it comes to cybersecurity, because technology, it usually seems like to me that technology comes behind cybersecurity, because we don't know what new technologies are coming up, and all of a sudden the insurance companies have to adjust to it. Am I looking at that time frame right and how it works?
Yeah, the new product comes out that connects to something else, and then the insurance company has to figure out how to deal with the connectivity of that particular product. The more things are connected, the more times there are chances for intrusion. And there's two parts to cybersecurity: the physical aspect, where you have a guy that wires up your network and sets up your machines and all that stuff. That also involves the training of employees not to go around and click links that bring stuff into the system. Those are the hacks that happen most often. It's not somebody hacking into your machine. It's you clicked a link that allowed someone access to your machine. And then the cybersecurity portion is, no matter how much you train, how well your system is set up, stuff happens. So you need to make sure you have proper coverage, because it costs you money. Especially if someone's able to get into your system and get data out of it, customer names, email addresses. And if you're doing stuff on the internet and dealing in all 50 states, every state has a different notification process. For you to try and do that yourself would cost you a small fortune in time and money. That's why you need the cyber policy to take care of that notification process.
Yeah. As we discussed in the previous show, when it comes to, I believe the attack is phishing attack, and that's the attack where they ask for what, $500 or $1,500 in Bitcoin, or
that's the ransomware. They get into your system and lock up your data and say, give us X amount of dollars and we'll release your data. And so far to date, as far as I know, on all those ransomwares, the company gives the money, the data is unlocked, and nobody comes back in and locks their stuff up again. There's an honor among thieves, so to speak. They say, you pay us and we'll leave you alone. And it's an industry now. That's what people do for a living. They get into machines and do it. That's where you have to be careful when you look at email addresses. You'll get one that looks like it's from Netflix, netflix.com.
Right.
But it says NETFIIX. So it's not the same email address, and no one, banks, Social Security, none of those people ask you for your login information. IRS, no one asks you for that information.
That's right.
Because they can't see it on there. They'll have you log into their network or whatever, but they won't say, hey, Rick, I need to know what your username and password is for your bank account.
That's right.
If you see that, you can guarantee it's bogus. Now I get texts on a regular basis. They say, hey, this is FedEx. There's a problem getting your package delivered. Click on this link so we can straighten it out. And since I know when I'm getting packages, I figured out right away that's probably pretty bogus. And I get them like 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah.
And it's probably not that difficult to send those out, and you only need to get 1 or 2 people to answer, and you're off and running.
It's true. My goodness. All right. So let's bring up this point here. This is another one, and this one's pretty new to me because I don't do a lot of research in regards to this, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and talk about it. So part of that article is 3D and 4D printing, additive manufacturing. Although this may seem low tech compared to some of the other trends, 3D and 4D printing will have a very wide applications and will be particularly transformative when combined with trends like mass personalization. So what does that mean to you, Rick, and what does that mean to the audience, and how should they move towards that?
Well, 3D printing, we all know what that is. They were able to print out an object of a certain size, depth, dimension. Now, what makes it 4D is they've used a material that reacts to light, heat, pressure, whatever. So it's printed out in a small form and then it's able to grow to a larger form or into a different shape, or it's able to, say it's moves, flicks a lever or something by virtue of its changing sizes. So they're testing it in some manufacturing process now. They can 3D print a little tiny thing and turn it into a tire or whatever they want to turn it into, saving manufacturing costs. So
Okay.
I had to research that one because it was pretty interesting to me too. I knew what 3D was. Like, what the heck was 4D? I thought that was like science fiction stuff.
What does that do from a business insurance perspective? Which insurance does it attach itself to, and how does it?
It would affect your product's liability coverage.
Okay.
You say your thing's going to do, if I heat it up, it's going to open up a valve or whatever. And if it doesn't do it and something happens, then you've got a problem with your product's liability.
Okay.
They're testing it in all kinds of things. My first introduction to it was I have a client that makes, well, I call them laser water picks, but it's a laser thing for cleaning teeth. And I'm sitting in his office one day reviewing his insurance. I keep hearing this buzz, buzz, buzz. And I go, what the heck is that? And he goes, oh, that's our 3D printer over there. That's how we make the prototypes. So they make the prototypes, test them, and then they take all that, dimensions and whatever, and then they can send it off to manufacturing. So the technology's been around longer than we think.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. So we talked about a few trends that are happening and a few trends that people are all aware of and using every day. And obviously, please refer back to the article to see a little bit more of those trends that they're talking about, and again, make the adjustments where you see. But let's go ahead and talk about insurance and talk about what they're doing and to talk about this. So there's another article, and in this article was from McKinsey.com, and these are 5 trends that will have pronounced impact on insurance. And the list is as follows: applied AI, a distributed infrastructure, future of connectivity, next level automation, trust architecture, next generation computing, future of programming, bio revolution, nanomaterials, future of clean technologies. This article uses 3 measurements where dark blue is major impact, lighter blue is moderate impact, and light blue is limited impact. Now, the top 5, which is applied AI, distributed infrastructure, future of connectivity, next level automation, and trust architecture, in this article, for people that are listening on the podcast, it seems like those are the major impacts. So, Rick, when you look at this from your perspective, how do you see it? What does that do to you?
I got to keep learning and learning and learning. The applied AI, we already talked about all the way across the board. It affects how they deal with claims, how they price insurance. You go all the way over to the life and annuity side. That's, they've had life insurance tables for ever and ever and ever. I mean, I started selling insurance a couple of 100 years ago. I don't know, in the 90s, I was selling life insurance to begin with. Right. They were still using life expectancy tables that we created in the 1950s. So how out of whack is that? Now they probably redo it. Every time you sign up, they ask a bunch of health questions and they figure it all out. Yeah. Distributed infrastructure, that's how they're connecting up all the different items in their own network to be able to process claims, price policies, deal with clients. Okay. Future of connectivity, insurance carriers are trying more and more to have the consumer directly connect on the internet to get their policy and all that stuff, which is both good and bad. It's relatively simple for the consumer to connect up. You see the television commercials on TV. Hey, only buy the insurance you need. I do this stuff for a living, and I got to pay attention to what I'm doing, so I make sure I'm doing the right amount. How does the everyday consumer know what they need?
That's exactly right.
Next level automation, that's the same thing. Faster processing power. That's what computers are all about. They're trying to get faster and faster processing power so they can get more stuff through the system. Because the volumes and volumes of paperwork that we used to have now are, a little tiny disk or a little email or whatever. I mean, yeah. I haven't actually mailed an insurance policy by U.S. mail in years.
That's right.
Everything now goes via email. which makes
Sure.
more sense. People don't read their insurance policy once they get it anywhere. It's much easier for them to save it on their computer rather than filling up their drawer with files. Trust architecture is all these systems connecting together and making sure that they're all, I'm not sure what they're all trusted connections. So you don't have some random thing out here pouring data in that you don't really want.
Sure. Okay. Let's talk about this. I'm sorry. Yeah. What about the ones on the bottom? Did you any one of them stand out?
I don't think they're going to have much impact on insurance.
Oh, okay. And just to remind everybody, he's talking about the next generation computing, future of programming, biorevolution, nanomaterials, and future of clean technologies. They are in the light blue, if you will, as far as the section in which this article is presenting itself. And they went to 3 different areas, which is personal P&C, commercial P&C, and also life and annuities. Just to give
the nanomaterials. The nanomaterials are some of the things they use in the 3D printing.
Oh, okay, I got it.
They react differently to different stimuli.
Okay. There's one more section of this that really got to me with this article that we're looking at. And this is why tech trends matter and why now. Let's go ahead and bring this up for everybody. It says these technology trends have potential to materially change some of the underlying inputs of insurance products and core functions. In underwriting, for example, automated warehouses enabled via applied AI and distributed infrastructure may fundamentally alter the nature and focus of workers' compensation coverage by removing the majority of human workers from most warehouse operations. Now, Rick, that is one of the concerns that I find with technology, and one of the threats is some of this technology is becoming so advanced that it is, and I read some reports that some of this technology is becoming advanced where it's replacing the workforce. Because I know business owners are having challenges with the workforce nonetheless, but also convenience is almost, like a better terms, is a drug. When you get that convenience, you try to get your processes going with as limited as possible and make sure that you're earning revenue all in the same breath. But do you feel like some of this technology is going to replace a lot of the workers, or how do you feel like this relationship between technology and workers is going to?
It'll probably replace some workers, but you still need the workers to carry out certain processes. Sure, you can program a robot to go along on a shelf and grab part A or part B or part C, scan it into a system, but there's still got to be some kind of quality control. Somebody's got to make sure that the stuff that was picked and shipped was the right thing. And that particular technology only works well in large warehouses that has enough room for the machine to go up and down the aisle. Okay. And in smaller warehouses, and it'd be too costly to put that automation into a smaller warehouse that doesn't have, tons and tons of things in it. Or it wouldn't work like in an auto parts store where they got little tiny, wheels and gears and pieces. It'd be tough for, and they're stuck in a bin. As opposed to pulling stuff off of a shelf, which is a much simpler application. So it's probably going to replace some employees, but those employees may be able to be trained to operate the machines or troubleshoot the machines. The order still has to get out. If the silly machine stops working, somebody has to get that stuff off the shelves. The customer doesn't care whether you're picking it by hand, you're picking it with a robot, you're rolling something up and down an aisle. They still want their stuff. I mean, the folks that will probably maximize and renovate and innovate with that technology is Amazon. It's all its warehouses.
That's very true.
I can't believe you can order something in the morning and have it in the afternoon. I have no idea how they do that.
Yeah. So
pretty
true.
Soon I'll have the robot just fly by and drop it off on my doorstep.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't put it past society at this stage, and definitely with how technology is advancing itself and drones and whatnot. So, what final thoughts? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, technology is a great thing, but you still have to run your business properly. You have to have good employees. You have to have all the necessary security systems enforced for that technology. So when you add a new technology, a new software, any of those things, you have to make sure you take a look down the road and say, wait a minute, if this fails, what's happening? Well, what else is this connected to? What's the problem? And those are the kind of questions I have to ask when I'm working on a client's insurance. Oh, I see you've got a new widget machine in. Hey, what else is that connected in? Is it mobile? Is it stationary? How's it put in place? Those are all considerations when insuring.
That's it. A lot to think about there, Rick. What is the final thought you'd like to give to the audience, and what would you have them do with this show?
Pay attention to your technology, pay attention to your employees, and work with a qualified insurance broker to make sure you're protected.
Enough said. I like where you're going with that. And as always, I want to thank you, Rick, for joining us and just your wealth of information, being willing to share this, because again, as things change and as society keeps on moving forward quickly, we need to be prepared. So again, I thank you for your time. We'll see you next time.
My pleasure. See you next month.
All right, you got it. Have a good one. And for everybody else, thank you so much for joining us today, as always. You know, with what Rick is saying, consider the exposure that you're in. We have these shows to make sure that you are looking at your operations and making sure that your business stays stable. And part of that stability is to ensure that you're crossing all the T's and dotting all your I's, because it is a real thing, and things are happening for our convenience to ensure business gets done, and so we can stay advanced in the world. But within that, remember, there's business insurance in between that. Rick gave a perfect example as to some of the miscommunications that seem to happen because of the exposure. Don't get caught in the middle of that. Know that you are protected and prepared, and each technology decision that you enhance your business with, make sure that you're talking to your insurance broker, such as Rick, to ensure that you're getting the proper coverage, that it looks right, and you're communicating, most importantly, with your insurance broker to ensure that they know exactly what you're changing and what you're doing, because anything they don't know, they can't insure. So I want to again thank you everybody for listening and also watching the program. But in the meantime, Rick and I, we have to get back to work. We'll see you next time. Thank you.